Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Hello? Oh dear, here we go. Yes, yes. Fantastic. Okay, great. So, it's great to have you all on board. What an active I noticed some people were online before 6:30, so that's very, very eager. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Theo. Welcome, Darren. Welcome, Shirley. Welcome, Esther Lorna Beckford. Whoa, good to see you. It's good to see you online. Now, what I always say and I always ask is for everybody to network. So, whilst you are listening, please. Hello, Anne Marie. Oh, great, great, great. Can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me? I hope you can still hear me. Put it in the chat box if you can, but I'm sure if you can't, you can't hear. Okay. Can everybody else hear me? Anne Marie, you can hear. Fantastic. Those of you who can't hear, just reboot your, fantastic. Just reboot your browser. Most people can hear me, and we've got quite a bit to get through today. So I'm just going to crack on with it. And I was hoping to have my administrator with me. She will be joining shortly. So she will try to answer questions as we go along, but there will be a Q&A at the end. And I really hope that, hi, Natasha, fantastic. Natasha is going to be our administrator and answerer of questions where you can. She'll keep the conversation going. And I think we need to get cracking. I think we've got quite a few people on board already. That's wonderful. There's about 43 or 44 of you on board at the moment, and I think that's enough to get going. So welcome to Demystifying the Queen's Honours System. I know a lot of you are interested in this. We had over 190 odd, I think it was more closer to 200, but we had to move the room because I think some of you were going to be locked out. So I had to send out a new link, and I'm really hoping that most of you have got the new link. So there's enough people on board. So let me get going with this, because I know that's what you're here for. You're not here to listen to me. Well, you are, but okay. So today's presentation is part of the 20 top tips for business for success in personal and business life. So it's all about increasing your profile, increasing your credibility, and really getting you hyped up and boosted for 2020. So this is the year that lots of wonderful things are going to happen for lots of people. So you might as well get ready. You never know, it could be you. But before we get started, I can see some of us have already had a few problems. So it's best to watch on a laptop or a tablet, not on your smartphones, because smartphones aren't really that smart when it comes to webinars. So if it's possible, open it up in a separate browser, because then you don't use as much bandwidth and everything will flow a lot easier. I hope you're in a quiet room. Switch off your phones or put them on vibrate. And well, it's too late to get your coffee because we're going to start very soon. But focus, take notes, ask lots of questions, and stay to the end, because I've got a little gift for everybody that's online. And before we really get started, I wanted to make a little announcement about Wintrade Global. Now, most of you will know that we do the Wintrade convention every June. It's really become a big mark on the convention calendar for women in business. We have women from all over the world coming to spend a whole week with us to talk about politics, to talk about women's economic empowerment, to network, to look for contracts. And at the end of that week, we have a huge awards dinner. So this year, the awards dinner is going to be the 12th of June at the same hotel. The Park Plaza is now our home. Our nominations open on Monday, so you'll all be getting an email. Watch out for your inbox. Think about who you're going to nominate. Last year was fantastic. I hope some of you were there. We're also going to open up our new look website on Monday as well, the 3rd of February. So more information is coming soon. The new website address is www.wintradeglobal.com, not Wintrade Week, but wintradeglobal.com. And you can always email us for more information. So, as you know, if you're here to learn something about the Queen's Honour. And this presentation is here to help you. If you're interested in nominating someone for an honour, I will tell you now, you cannot nominate yourself. So I hope you've got some great friends who are going to nominate you for one of these honours. It can help raise your credibility, both in your business and your personal life. And it's one of the things that helps you become a KPI, which is a key person of influence within your business arena or within your social arena. It makes a huge difference. So in today's presentation, Demystifying the Queen's Honour System, you will learn the background, how the honour systems work, perceptions and reality about who gets the honours. You'll learn about who to nominate, how to nominate, and then what the next steps are. So with that said, if you're ready to get started, put yes in the chat box. I want to see lots of yeses before I move on. I'm still waiting for the, yes. Okay, great. All right, so here we go. Hope you've all got your notes. I've put look who's talking because I felt that if I'm going to tell you, spend the next 45 minutes or so talking to you about how to nominate, I think it's good that you should know how I can do this and why I can do it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Yvonne Thompson. I received a Commander of the British Empire investiture nearly 20 years ago. In fact, it was 17 years ago. I am a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. I'm a fellow of St. George's College in Windsor at Windsor Castle. And 2 weeks ago, I became what we call a Kingsman. So I'm now a fellow of King's College London. Some of you may know my background. I was one of a group that started the first Black-owned radio station. I started the first Black-owned PR company in the UK, started the first Black Women in Business network. I sit on various boards. My speciality is in marketing and PR. My passion actually is equality and diversity. I've written a book about women in leadership called 7 Traits of Highly Successful Women on Boards. I'm an international public speaker. I've done a couple of TEDx talks, and I'm on my way to Oslo in a couple of weeks to speak to about 5,000 people at the She Conference. So I really enjoy what I do, which is what keeps me going. And most of it is more community, I would say, community service, because quite often I don't get paid for what I do, but I love helping, teaching, informing and keeping the community together. And I've been doing that for over 35 years. So as I said, I received my investiture back in 2003. Does that look like me? Does that really look like me? Come on, tell me. I'm not moving forward until I get some feedback. It's a very old picture. Oh, you're too nice. You're too, who said no? Come on. Oh, definitely not. Oh my God. Well, it was, yeah. Yes, that was me. That was me nearly 20 years ago. I know the work I do has turned my hair more than 50 shades of grey. So there you go. It was wonderful meeting the Queen. It's quite an honour. And that's outside the palace after I received my CBE. And then 6 years ago, I joined the Economy Honours Committee. Again, that was an incredible honour, really humbling, because I could see why so many people are just overjoyed with receiving their investitures. I know there's a bit of, ifs and buts and maybes and about the empire. But, for me, I think to each his own. What I want to do is make sure that everybody can make an informed decision. What you do thereafter is entirely up to you. But looking at literally thousands of nominations and applications, I think has given me the background to be able to feed through the information that that I'm going to share with you. I want to do a quick poll before we start. I just want to see how much you guys know about the honours. And I'm just going to put this up here for just a couple of sessions. And, oh, right, okay. Okay, so about 10% of you know nothing. 13% of you have heard. 70% of you have heard but don't know enough. And about 15%, it keeps changing, but quite a fairly good percentage of you know enough to make a nomination. Well, I hope by the end of today's presentation, you'll know even more. And if you do know about making a nomination, have you made one? And if not, why not? But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So I'm going to end the poll now and go back to our slides. So, as I said, we're going to look at the background of the honours. We're going to look about how the system works. We're going to look at perceptions and reality, who gets an honour, how to nominate, and who to nominate. So let's get moving with that. So the background of the honours, it actually started in 1917 when King George V decided that he wanted to reward and recognise the people who didn't actually go to war, but were still there making a huge difference, supporting the war efforts and supporting the community that were left behind. And he came up with a range. I mean, this is a small part of, this is the ones that you probably will have heard of. There are a few more that specifically for soldiers and the army and the forces, really. And as you know, I think probably the most well-known are the last 3 or 4, which is the OBE, the Member of the British Empire, and more recently, the BEM, which is the British Empire Medal. So I'll tell you a bit more about each of those as we go along. So now every year there are 2 lists. We all know there's the Queen's birthday list, which comes out on the 6th of June, as it's her official birthday. And then we have the New Year list, which usually comes out the last weekend of the old year, just so that they can catch up and make sure that everybody sees it. So all of the lists have several elements. First of all, there's the Queen's personal list. She has her own list. She has, well, obviously it's her list, so she can have as many as she likes. And I'll tell you a little bit more about who she has on her list shortly. But then there's the Foreign Secretary's list, and that's usually about 150 names. And that's usually for people who are working overseas and the different embassies or ambassadors that are doing great jobs overseas. Then there's the Defense Secretary list, and again, that's about the forces, and there's usually about 200 names there. But the big list is the Prime Minister's list, and the Prime Minister's list is made up of several lists, and it comes through several committees, and I'll tell you about those committees very shortly as we go along. So since King George V, between 1917 and 1993, not a lot changed. In fact, nothing changed until John Major came along, and he decided to really modernize and reform the lists. He put an end to what they call automaticity. I hope I said that right. But it basically means that no longer did those with the medals or the investitures have a right to pass it down the line in their family. So it means that rather than it being passed down the line, anybody who actually receives an investiture has to go through the system. He also introduced the public nominations. Before, it was all done, it was in closed rooms, it was the good and the great patting themselves on the back and giving themselves honours, so the normal or the regular public did not get a look in. So now there are up to 10,000 inquiries a year, and out of those inquiries, they get sifted, and usually there's about 3,000 that may get their investiture within any 1 year. 1,500 for the birthday list and 1,500 for the New Year's list. And after John Major, Tony Blair decided that there should be an independent selection committee. So this is where the 9 committees now come about, because as I said before, it was all done in a locked room with what we call the good and the great and the old boys club and everything else. But it was Tony Blair that actually put the committees together. I'll tell you what those committees are in a moment. So it has to go through the committee and sifted through the committees before it's passed to the Prime Minister, who then recommends it to the Queen. And there were even more recent reforms with David Cameron. He decided to add another two committees, and he also reintroduced the British Empire Medal. And again, I'll tell you a little bit more about the British Empire Medal in a moment. So we've looked at the background. So let me take you through how the system works. Now, this looks quite complicated, but it's not really. So at the bottom of the bottom of the chart, this is where the general public can make nominations. It used to be that everybody would post a package through or send a package through the post to the Cabinet Office, but now everything can be done online. Everything is automated and digital, so it's a lot easier to make your nominations these days. And then, so the general public sends it into the Cabinet Office. The Cabinet Office will sift through those nominations, decide which ones have got the correct information, which ones are in the correct place, because not everything goes through the Cabinet Office. And then the Cabinet Office or the staff, the Secretariat, will sift each application into these various committees, and they are arts and media, economy, which was the one that I was on, that's all about business. Then there's science and technology, there's sport, there's health, there's education, there's community, and then there is what you call state. Sorry, somebody has just liked my photo on Instagram. I need to turn off those notifications. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go again. Sorry. So after they've gone through each of the committees sit twice a year as well, usually in March and September. They will go through, each committee will get about 150 nominations. They will go through those 150 nominations and decide who will get what. Whether you'll get an OBE, a CBE, a DAME, what you will get, depending on the committee that you are allocated to. After those committees have sat, they will then skip the philanthropy and go to the main honours committee. Now, each chair from each of those committees form the main honours committee, and they look through it, see whether they have, because sometimes what happens is you will have one application that will end up twice in two different committees. So they go through those to make sure there is no doubling up, to make sure that everybody is in the right place and in the right order before they pass it on to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister then has his team go through everything yet again before he actually takes all of them to the Queen for her to sign off. So because I've never been there on that occasion, I'm not sure whether she signs them all off individually, or whether it's probably that her staff will go through them, make sure that there's nothing controversial, nobody controversial, and then she will sign it off. That whole process can take up to 2 years. From the time you send in your nomination, you should receive an automated response giving you a reference number for each application that you send in, or whether you post it. If you post it, obviously it's going to be a little bit longer, but if you do it online, you should receive an automated response that gives you a reference number, which you can actually refer to anytime that you want to chase up your nomination, the nomination that you put in. But as I said before, because the committees only meet twice a year, if you don't make it into the first committee meeting, which you won't because it has to be sifted, it could take between 18 months and 2 years. Now, people always say, oh, is there a particular time that you should send your nomination in? There's no particular time. You can send a nomination in at any time. And once you send the nomination in, you can actually also follow it up. I know that's quite a lot of information to go through there, but once you get it into the system and you start the process, it's easy enough to follow up. As I said before, the committees meet twice a year, March for the birthdays honours list, and awardees can expect their investitures usually before the birthday list is done. Before the New Year's list is done. And then in September, the committees all meet again and go through that same process. So you can see it's quite a long process. It's quite difficult getting everybody together on those committees. Oh my goodness. I told you all to turn off your phones and now someone's calling me. Excuse me. I should turn it off. Sorry about that. I hope that doesn't mean, can you all still hear me? Can you just let me know that you can still hear me. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Natasha, can you send a maybe send it? Oh, fantastic. Everybody can still hear me. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. All right, Natasha, I will. Okay, I think everything's all right. So if you want to send me a message, send me a WhatsApp message, because then it doesn't disturb everybody else. Brilliant. Okay, let me carry on. Are you all enjoying it so far? I hope it's useful so far. Okay. All right. So let me push on. Yes. So it can take up to 2 years. All right. I want to make sure that I get through as much information as quickly as possible. So the award levels, I'm sure you've all heard of a dame and a knighthood, and this is what the medals might look like. And the second medal is blank because it depends on what kind of knight, whether you're a knight of the garter or whether you're another knight, that medal will be filled accordingly. The CBE. And just so that you all know that I do really have one, here it is. Yay, okay? That's mine, nearly 20 years old, and it looks it. So that's the CBE. Then we have the Order of the British Empire, which is the OBE, which is probably one of the most popular ones. The MBE is even more so, and the BEM, as I said before, this one was bought back by David Cameron because he wanted to extend even more the opportunity for even more people to receive medals. So this is usually given to younger people who are doing great things within the community. So that's the BEM. So we've talked about the background, we've talked about the honour systems, now the perceptions and the reality of who actually receives the medals. So everybody thinks that it's always, or most of the medals go to the good and the great and the celebrities and the famous. Now this year there was nearly 1,100 medals given out. Most of them, 397 of them, were given to MBEs, and that's usually to the community for the work that they've done. Then there was 315 BEMs. Again, the level that you receive sometimes also pertains to the length of time you've been doing what you've been doing, and also the impact you have, how wide an impact you have on the community. So what I didn't say is you do not get recognized for what you get paid for. You get recognized for the things you do above and beyond your day job. So if you are paid in a charitable position, unless you do something absolutely extraordinary that turns that whole industry around, you will not get recognized for being a charity worker, unless, again, but it's entirely up to the community and the people that nominate you to put in the information that will get you recognized and get you to the level that you may wish. You cannot dictate or ask for the level. That is decided at the committees. Some people go in way up into, sometimes people don't accept their medals because they thought they were going to be a dame or a CBE. It's not up to the individual or the nominee, it's up to the committee. And sometimes I've known that nominations have been thrown out because, a lot of the information on there is just not correct. And that's the other thing that will happen, is that you will be checked out. The nominees will be checked out. They do check everything that you say is on that nomination form is true. So, and this is why you cannot nominate yourself, or one of the reasons you cannot nominate yourself. So OBEs, okay, there were 397 MBEs, 315 BEMs, 229 OBEs, and 100 CBEs. This is where it starts to get less and less. There were 17 knights, 16 companions. Now, the companions, as I said before, it's usually something that the Queen decides on her own personal list. So, there are companions for various things. She has representatives in throughout all the boroughs, throughout all the boroughs up and down the country, so, and overseas. So she usually has a fairly extensive list. And then last but not least, there are only 15 dames. I say there are, those numbers will change from list to list. So this was the New Year's Honours list. Those numbers might change again for the birthday list later on this year. So perceptions and reality, there we have it. It's not always the celebrities, or it's not mostly celebrities that get nominations. It is the wider general public. Now, who gets the honours? It could be anybody from someone who's made a huge impact at their workplace or within their community. Someone like this young gentleman, he received a BEM. I think he was one of the first young people to receive a BEM. And he was doing extraordinary things from a very young age. And when that medal was reintroduced, they thought it was an excellent opportunity to recognise him. Again, there's the opportunity of people who are supporting others to get through their daily life. Someone who's changed things for the better, who has changed the perception of sport, changed the perception of the workplace, changed the perception of women, quite often get recognised. This young lady is a nurse, and she went above and beyond her nursing duties and was recognised again by her peers. So those are the people who get the honours. Now, who are the people to nominate that are most likely to get through the system? Well, one of the things that I know the Cabinet Office are very keen to find are people who live outside London. As usual, London and the Southeast gets a lot of focus, and the further up north you go, the less nominations we get in. So those of you who are outside of London, you probably have a better chance of your nomination getting through, as long as you have the right information and the right accreditation. So regions outside of London, entrepreneurs are now kind of fast taking up space within the investitures. We have a retail sector, need for more people in the retail sector. Technology is huge. We all know that, it's life-changing for so many people in so many ways, whether it's medical, whether it's financial, whether it's business. Technology plays a huge part at the moment. And then, of course, philanthropists, very keen on people who give back to the community, whether it's money, time, whatever it is, as long as they're making a big impact on their local community or even internationally. Women, of course, there's always less women on the list than there are men. And of course, the same goes for minorities. So these are the areas where there are gaps, where there are big gaps, and there are big opportunities. Where there are gaps, there are opportunities. So those are the areas in which that you can actually take a good look at when you are nominating. Now, how do you nominate? Now, I've got a 5-minute video that I want to show you, and it goes quite in depth but quite quickly, about how to nominate. So I'm going to start this video and I'll see you on the other side of 5 minutes.
This video is here to help you complete an honours nomination form. So do you know somebody who deserves an honour? Someone who is making a real positive difference? Someone whose work or volunteering really stands out from the crowd? Someone who goes that extra mile and then some? Then it's time to nominate them for an honour. People from every walk of life in all parts of the UK receive honours. So for example, people who devote their spare time to volunteering or fundraising for charities. People who make a difference through the local community groups that they run, like dance groups for the disabled, or lunch clubs for the elderly, or sports clubs for kids. People who go way beyond their job, like the doctor who runs sessions for new parents in first aid for babies and children, who pops in to see her elderly patients just to check that they are okay, and donates her services to help a local homeless charity. People who run successful businesses, but also use their talents to help others, perhaps by taking the lead with other business owners to set up an apprenticeship academy or a mentoring scheme to help young people into careers. Well, this video is here to help you give your nominee the best possible chance when you complete the form. But the first thing to remember is that you must not tell the person that you are nominating them, and this is really important. And just a quick reminder that you can't nominate yourself. So, we know that filling in any form can be a bit daunting, so on the first page of the form you'll find some helpful hints and tips. But remember, if you get stuck, you can always contact the Honours and Appointments Secretariat for help. The first page asks you for your nominee's details, things like their name, their address, their date of birth and nationality. This is really important because we need to be sure that we're considering the right person. Next, we ask you to tell us in a nutshell what you're nominating the person for. So, for example, services to a particular charity, or services to the elderly in Wigan, or services to healthcare and the homeless in Newcastle. Next, we need some details of how long the person has been doing this for and whether they're paid to do this. If you've got the exact dates, that's really helpful, and we also need to know if they are still doing it. So, for example, this person has been a doctor since 1975, which is a paid role. They volunteered for the homeless charity since 1992. They set up the first aid sessions for parents and grandparents in 2010, and this is a voluntary role, and they've run these sessions every 2 months since then. Then we get to the real heart of your nomination, where we need to know the real difference that the person you're nominating has made. And this is where we need as much detail as possible, although we're not expecting pages. So please tell us, what has this person achieved? Think about what things were like before they started and how they're different now. What makes them stand out from others who are doing similar things? Why are they a role model and why are they respected by others? Are there any circumstances that have made this even more of an achievement, perhaps tough choices they've had to make or obstacles they've had to overcome? And do remember to tell us everything your person does that is relevant. So, for example, the person in a deprived estate who set up street sports for the local kids 5 years ago. She persuaded local businesses to donate equipment. She found volunteers to help, and this included people from the estate, from the housing association, local businesses and the police. She also persuaded the local school to let them use their hall when the weather was bad. And she did this despite having severe health problems herself. As a result, crime has dropped on the estate by 35%, and over 60 kids have been given work experience or job opportunities with local businesses. Then we need to know if there is anyone doing something similar, and if so, what makes this person stand out from the rest? So, for example, with our doctor, there are other local doctors, but there are none that have donated their time to help address the health issues of the homeless or to help new parents with life-saving first aid. Next, we look to see if your nominee has been recognised for their contribution elsewhere. So this might be in your local press or perhaps through an award. If so, please do include newspaper clippings or photos if you have them. And then we're looking for at least 2 letters of support. It's important that these are written by people who have first-hand experience of the difference your person makes and can tell us more about them, and of course they also need to want to support the nomination. So, for an example, with our street sports, it might be a letter from a young person who attended the street sports and through that found a job, or perhaps a letter from a local policeman explaining the difference the street sports made to local crime. And the last thing we ask for are your details and that you sign and date the form. It's also really helpful for us if you can complete the diversity monitoring section. And that's it. But please be patient. As you would expect, there are checks that the honours team have to do, and that takes time. And then every nomination is very carefully considered by the appropriate committee. So it can take us 18 to 24 months from a nomination being submitted to an honour being awarded. And remember, you can download the form from www.gov.uk/honours or simply call 0207 276 2777 and the team will send you one. So are you ready to make that nomination? We hope so.
Hello. Yeah, can you just type in that the presentation is stuck and I'll be with you shortly? Thanks. Mm. Oh dear. I'm sorry, folks. I cannot believe. Hello, can you hear me? I cannot believe my presentation has restarted itself. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to flick through these, but I think that some of you wanted to know a bit more about a bit of the, I think the last 4 slides before the video. So let me get to that part and I will start. I'll talk you through that again. I'm guessing if you can just put in the chat box which slide, I think it was it from the committee slide you wanted to see again? Whilst I click through everything again, I'm so sorry about this, but it's called live presentations, live webinars. I will be back with you shortly. So, let's have a look. Okay. Was it from the committees? Yes. Okay. All right. So here we are. We're on the committee slide. So as I said before, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 committees. You submit your your nomination through the as a general public entry. You can do it online, as you've seen. That goes to the Cabinet Office. The Cabinet Office will then sift everything and decide which committee it will go to. Those committees, those 9 committees, meet twice a year, once for the birthday list and once for the New Year's Honours list. They decide the levels and whether each person is in the right committee. Those committees then make a recommendation to the main Honours Committee. And the main Honours Committee is made up of the chairs of each of the other committees, and they sit down, have a powwow about absolutely every nomination that's got that far before they present it to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister then goes through it before he presents it to the Queen. So I'm hoping that that's quite clear. And as I said before, the committees meet twice a year, birthday honours list and the New Year's honours list. I hope that's been helpful. You've seen what all the different awards are and what the different levels are. We've talked about the numbers of people that get the honours. So when you see in the papers, it looks like it's only celebrities. It's only the celebrities that are reported in the nationals. You may see some people in their local press, but there are far more community workers, people who do a lot of voluntary work, people who do stuff within the workplace, people who change things for the better, and people who improve the lives of others. We've talked about the gaps, the entrepreneurs, the retail sector, technology sector, philanthropists, we need a lot more of those, women and minorities. So these are, as I said before, where there are gaps, there are opportunities. You've seen the video now, I'm sure you don't want to see that again. And if you do manage to get through a nomination, you will receive a certificate signed by Her Majesty, and you will receive one of these, which I have up on my wall, and I've taken it down specially to show you all. So we did one poll, and I just want to get an idea of, where you are now. As far as I'm really hoping that I've given you some information that could change the percentages. So please tell me a bit more about whether you still feel you don't know enough, whether you know enough to make a nomination. Do you know more than you did before the webinar? You know, how likely are you to make a nomination? Oh, that's gone way up. Fantastic. That is amazing. So I think I've done a good job. So I've got 55 of you, 55%. It's changing all the time, but the figures are far better. I think you all know a lot more than you did before. About 50% of you say you're likely to make a nomination. And then the rest is, 20% of you still want to know more. Okay, well, we'll talk about that at the end. If you still feel that you don't know enough, I'm going to close the poll off now. If you still feel you don't know enough, there's an opportunity that I will tell you about at the end. Thank you so much for, being involved. So, how likely are you to nominate someone for award? And everybody says, or everybody thinks, oh, someone else is doing it. Someone else is going to do that for them. And that's not always the case. And it's better to have 6 people nominating individually than everybody sitting there saying, oh no, someone else is going to do it. So, don't be shy, because if not you, then who? And then, if not now, when are you likely to do it? So I hope I've answered all of your questions, if not all of your questions, some of your questions. And what I'd like to offer and what I'd like to say, if you feel there's still more that you need to talk about, you can book a mentoring call with me. It's absolutely free. I can't charge for this. But I'm happy to help and promote the fact, because I want to see more people, more women and more minorities being up there and being nominated. The more nominations we get through from our communities, the more of us are likely to go through. So if you'd like to book a mentoring call, just use this bit.ly, bit.ly, honors_mentoring_call. I will put this up on another page. Now I'm happy to do a Q&A. I've gone through the main part of the presentation within a good time, even though if I had to restart the presentation, and I'm happy to spend the next 15 or 20 minutes, as long as you need to answer any questions I can help you with right now. But just before we go to the Q&A, I just want to give you a little bit of a reminder of WinTrade Global. Our convention week is 8th to 12th of June this year. The awards is on Friday, the 12th of June at the Park Plaza Hotel, where we normally have it. Nominations, there's lots of you that I've seen on this call that should be nominated and should be nominating others. So Monday, I will be sending out the link and the information so that you can all get going. Nominations will be open for about 8 weeks, I think it is, but all that information will be there. And the new website is wintradeglobal.com. So there it is. And if you want to get involved, you can do so there. I also am running a program which some of you may have heard about, the Power of Executive Mentoring. If you'd like to know more, again, you can contact me at win@wintradeweek.com, or you can simply click or copy bit.ly.February newsletter _2020 to get a free. It's full of really great stuff for entrepreneurs. So do download it, have a look at it, and I hope that it helps you. With that, 1 hour and 30 seconds. I've now finished the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions. So let's have a look. Okay, so Esther is asking, how many nominations do you think gives someone a better chance? It's not really about how many nominations. I think it's the letters of support. It's best to only do one nomination because it's, even though it's, I was going to say it's not incredibly difficult, but you do have to have the right words. You do have to make sure you get the right information. You do have to make sure you get the right support. There is a technique to writing the application. Anne-Marie Morrison has asked, is there any recommendations on the way to write? Well, yes, but I can't do it here. I mean, what's best is if you book an honest call with me, and I will go through that individually, because there's actually a lot of questions coming up, and we need to just see how many we can get through. But if I don't get through your question, don't give you an answer, please just, let me type the bit.ly thing in here. Excuse me a second. I hope you can see it and write it down. .ly. Now that should get you, did I put that right? Yes, that looks so, except for the at. That looks about right. And that should get you to my diary, where you can actually book some time with me, and I'll be happy to talk you through. I am limiting the calls to between 20 and 30 minutes, because I know there's going to be quite a few people wanting to do that. So please feel free to get in touch. Oh my goodness, Trishna. Thank you very much, Natasha. Brilliant. How long does one need to be, how long does one need to doing something great to get an award? Okay, well, that's an interesting question, because sometimes it doesn't matter. It's the impact you've had. So if you've been doing something for 2 years and you've had huge impact up and down the country and made a huge difference to a lot of people's lives, your nomination has as much chance as going through to a decent level as someone who has been doing it for 20 years, but has only done it in a little corner, in a little town somewhere, without impacting very many people. Everybody, everybody's that's been doing something deserves an honor, but not everyone is going to get one. So it really depends on the impact. It's more about impact, as it's a bit of both, impact and how long you've been doing it for. Anne-Marie, I'm glad you found that informative. Do they look more favorably at BAME applications? No, they do not. BAME applications are just as award worthy as mainstream applications. I feel we just need to get more of us through the nominations process for more of us to be noticed. So they're not going to, necessarily look at one over the other. We just need to be better represented. How much research do they do? What if I move address? Now, that has happened. And if you move address and your nomination comes up, the person that nominated you should know where you've moved to. And as I said, you cannot nominate yourself. But the person, somebody, because you should also submit 2 or 3 letters minimum, one from work, one from someone whose life you've impacted, and maybe even a relative. And out of those people, somebody should know where you've moved to. So if you move and we can't find you, then what can I tell you? Is there no, there is no age limit for nominations. I'm 69. But what I do want to say, don't forget, you cannot nominate yourself. So there are lots of people. A friend of mine who actually recently died, he was, He was 85, and he got his nomination his award when he was, I think he was 83. So no, there's no age limit. Okay, what are the siftings? What do they sift out? Who can't not be say a little. Okay, I think I get what you're asking here. Lots of people who kind of started off their life in different ways have had nominations. It's as long as you haven't committed incredibly grievous and serious doings, there's an opportunity to turn your life around. And I know 1 or 2 people who started off on the wrong foot, but ended up doing great things for youth clubs and sports and all sorts of things, and have turned their lives around. So yes, there is an opportunity. Anne-Marie Morrison asked if there are any recommendations on the way to write. I think I answered that. Leslie, thank you so much. I'm glad you found it informative. Most informative I know. Many people with it, but want to nominate people who are unsung. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here doing this, because there are lots of people who are unsung heroes. But nobody writes. It is time consuming, and there is a particular technique. If you're going to do it, it takes quite a bit of time, and you might as well get it right from the beginning to make sure that your application gets a chance. So as I said, I'm happy to, if you've got someone in mind, or I'm happy to have a discussion. Let's see what other questions. Oh, there's quite a few since. Okay, so Tricia, can you nominate family? Yes, you can. And do you get recognised for paid work that is unrelated to your full? Probably not, unless it. Sorry. So I'm guessing some of you have seen Trishna's question, and it's quite a long question. Can you nominate family, and do you get recognised for paid work that is unrelated to your full-time job? I know many health advocates who do both paid and voluntary work in the healthcare space, but they do it outside of their regular full-time. Yes, well, if they've made a difference or a breakthrough, or something groundbreaking that is going to help a lot of people and impact a lot of other people's lives, there is a possibility. And yes, that's worth doing. But it is usually about the work you don't get paid for. It's about serving the community. It's about helping others. So I think the best thing to do is really go through the process, look at how impactful that person's work or life has been, and then make a decision as to whether you want to nominate or put that nomination through. And as I said, the more nominations that go through, the more of us will come out the other side. Can you have more than 2 letters of recommendation? Sanchia. Yes, you can. In fact, I think they asked for 2 or 3, but there's a lot of people who put in 6. It's not the length. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I think I answered that. Maureen, thank you. Natasha Deal can answer. Yeah, I can answer questions on Bentley. On a separate note, Rear Trade Global. Oh, wow. How much is it to join as a member? I can't see anything on the website. You can send it. Yes, I will. I will send you some information via a mailing that we will do to announce the nominations. Read the honours, do they have to be British? No. There are some, there are Commonwealth awards, but again, if you look on the website, it tells you the different areas. So yeah, Fiona, yeah, I've answered that, but happy to talk about more. No, but should have made a difference to Britain or the Commonwealth in some way. Absolutely. Tracy, thank you very much. Really appreciated the insights and the information you provided. May seek private call for further advice. Please do, it's free. Beverly, thank you so much for joining us from Washington. And when you come back to London, yeah, let's have a catch-up coffee. Oh, there goes my phone again. We know we've contributed, but perhaps our children might have appreciate seeing acknowledgement for the contribution. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Natasha. That's a good point. Val, thank you again, Yvonne. Is it better to do the nominations online? Oh, I think it's probably easier online, and you know, scan as much information or backup evidence or proof rather than putting piles of paper into an envelope. I think the most favorable way is going digital now. So if someone already has lots of awards, then is it best for? If someone already has lots of awards, it depends on what kind of awards they have. If they don't have something from the honours list, absolutely make sure that you go through that process as well. Wonderful. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for booking a call, and I'll be getting back to you shortly. I'm glad you found the session of interest, Amira. I hope to catch up with you soon. Oh, never mind, Beverly. Oh, you should come earlier. Come to London. Alistair, my goodness. Good to see you. I'm so glad. Okay, we'll talk on the call. Right, wonderful. Brilliant, brilliant. Yes, there are posthumous awards, but they're very rare. They're very rare. So, yeah, Alistair, there are. I think we had that discussion before, maybe, I'm not sure. But so if everyone has asked all the questions, we were about an hour and 15 minutes. I said I would do 15 to 20 minutes. And it looks like we've run out of questions. Thank you all for booking. Okay, thank you all for booking, for being with us. And I'm glad you found it useful. Please use the link if you want to book a call. I'm happy to answer any calls, any questions. Thank you all so much. And I think you even did a little bit of networking online, didn't you? I hope so. Some of you are still online. Please do connect with each other. That's what the WinTrade Global webinars are all about. If there's anything that you want to know more about on a webinar, if we can get a specialist or someone who can answer your questions for you, we'll gladly arrange that as well. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for joining. I think with that, we can now, thank you, Esther, for booking, and we'll see you soon. Great. I've got to tell you, Beverly does a great job on analysing your handwriting. I'm still waiting for mine to come, so I'm sure we'll get that in some point. Natasha, thank you very much for being a great moderator. It's been very useful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I am going to sign off unless there really aren't any other really burning questions. All right, I'm going to leave the information up for a little while. So if you want to book a call or if you contact, oh, thank you, Shirley. Glad you made it. So if you need to get in touch, you can get in touch with Natasha as well. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to sign off. See you soon. Watch out for the nominations. I hope some of you nominate each other, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Take care now. Bye.